The story begins with a glimpse of a tall, sturdy tower deep within a distant forest. In the highest chamber lived a shy young girl with long, flowing hair. Her beauty and charm could leave anyone speechless. Yet, she had never stepped beyond the walls of that tower. For as long as she could remember, she stayed within, staring out the window and imagining what the outside world might be like. She had made a solemn promise to someone, a vow that under no condition was she to set foot outside. The tower belonged to a powerful witch, feared for both her elegance and mastery of magic. Her curses could destroy anyone who dared defy her. The witch was strangely fond of the girl, and warned her that the outside world was filled with suffering and dangers lurking at every turn. She ordered the girl to never even think of leaving. Calling her name, she made it clear that Rapunzel must never go beyond the tower walls. As time went on, she never laid her foot outside and swore to never leave, no matter what. One fateful day, she was staring outside the window and smiled at a bird that sat on her finger. From afar, someone approached the tower. With sheer strength and determination, a boy climbed the tall structure, inching his way to the top. Struggling to keep his grip, he finally reached the window, gasping for air as he rested. Looking up, he saw a lovely, gentle girl staring at him with wide eyes, her fist clenched in surprise. It was only the second human she had ever seen. The boy muttered, "Rosa." Frozen in shock, the girl said nothing but watched carefully, making sure to capture every detail of his next actions. As she pushed herself back, she accidentally toppled off the edge of the bed and landed on her face. The boy quickly shouted, "Whoa there!" He wasn't there to steal or cause trouble. Instead, he was a curious and playful boy from a village where an old legend spoke of a mysterious tower hidden deep in the northern forest, beyond the thorny thicket no one dared cross. The rumors claimed a witch lived there, and he had set out to uncover this mystery that had long fascinated his village. Although he seemed elegant and noble, he was just an ordinary boy who loved climbing trees, and exploring was something that thrilled him. In the present, it seemed his journey had reached its end, as the tower and its witch truly existed, though the person he found didn't quite fit the image of a fearsome witch. Seeing her fall, he asked with concern if she was all right. Flustered, she immediately yelled at him, demanding to know who he was. Grabbing a broom to defend herself, he quickly assured her that he meant no harm. He had simply been exploring the forest when he came across the tall tower and, following his instincts, climbed it because he enjoyed climbing. Still unsure, she quietly repeated the name he had said when he first saw her. He explained that she resembled someone, and the name had just slipped out. Annoyed, she told him that her name wasn't Rosa, but Rapunzel, gripping the broom tightly. Their conversation continued as she asked if he had come searching for this Rosa person. He replied that Rosa wasn't a person at all. It was a multiflora, a type of flower. Since Rapunzel had never been outside, she asked him seriously if that flower was edible. The boy found this odd and, raising his voice in surprise, asked if she had really never stepped outside to see the many flowers blooming in nature. With a shaky, soft voice, she admitted that she had never left the tower. The boy's eyes widened in disbelief as Rapunzel explained that she had made a promise to her mother, the witch, that she would never go outside because the world was full of frightening and dangerous things. Her expression grew tense as she spoke. Without responding, the boy suddenly jumped out the window, saying there was something he needed to show her. Just before disappearing, he looked back and told her that maybe the witch she spoke of wasn't right about everything. Then he vanished into the forest below. Afraid he might have gotten hurt, Rapunzel leaned out to check if he was still alive. But instead of calling out, she quickly shut the door and let out a deep sigh of relief. Meeting someone for the first time had been overwhelming and exhausting. Suddenly, someone called her name, and she jumped in surprise. There stands a tall, slim, and attractive woman looking at Rapunzel. The woman noticed how flustered Rapunzel looked. Though her face wasn't fully visible, she seemed to sense something was off, as Rapunzel nervously claimed there had been a bee trying to get in. Apparently, the excuse worked, and Rapunzel quietly praised herself. The witch tells her that a bee shouldn't really harm you unless you threaten or anger it. After saying that, she told Rapunzel to eat something and then left the room. Feeling relieved, Rapunzel glanced back at the other window, quietly thinking to herself that he hadn't returned. A thought crossed her mind. Maybe he was just full of talk and found her strange. But then, she noticed two lovely flowers lying on her bed. As she picked them up, She softly muttered, "Are these flowers for me?" As he warns her about the thorns, she panics, and both start to talk to each other. He adds that she does like it, and she is stunned by them. As this moment became something very important for her, as he was about to leave, she couldn't help but ask for his name. As he glanced back, he told her that his name is Mikkel, and he is the son of a blacksmith, Rio. As he disappeared again, she thought she might never see him. But before long, his visits became a regular thing. He found comfort in her presence, and was drawn to her innocence. Meanwhile, she couldn't get enough of the stories he shared. Day by day, their bond grew stronger, and soon, she found herself often gazing out the window, waiting for him to return. One day, Mikkel arrived at the tower and found Rapunzel crying uncontrollably. Worried, he quickly asked what was wrong. She showed him the flower he had given her, now wilted, with tears streaming down her face because it meant so much to her. "My precious flower," she kept muttering, and she blamed it on the promise she broke with the Madam Witch. In a gentle voice, he told her not to cry, saying, "Rapunzel, there are more flowers outside than you can ever imagine." As he reached out his hand and asked her to trust him, she chose to break the vow she had kept with the witch. Trembling, she held on to Mikkel and stepped out of the tower for the first time in her life. Mikkel told her to hold on tightly and close her eyes, and slowly, he climbed down. As she hesitated to open her eyes, Mikkel gently said, "The wait is over, Rapunzel." Holding her hand, he began to introduce her to the world she had only imagined in her dreams. The warm rays of the morning sun lit up her face, and she gasped at how beautiful and real everything was, silently thanking her life for this moment. Mikkel brought her to a garden bursting with all kinds of flowers, and the trembling in her body slowly faded away. He told her that now she was free to pick as many flowers as she liked. Without a word, she wrapped her arms around him, having completely fallen for him. As their love blossomed and defied fate itself, both of them wished to each other that if this moment were to end, some higher power would let them relive it again and again. In time, she began going out with him regularly, and to her, he had become her entire world. One day, she mentioned that she had explored nearly everything around them, and told Mikkel that she wanted to meet his family and visit his village. Smiling, he praised how much she had grown, from a shy, scared girl to someone so full of confidence. He told her how proud he was of the girl he had fallen in love with, and said he'd be happy for her to visit his family and village. When he agreed, she jumped excitedly on the bed. Her sweet face lit up with a big smile as she hugged him and thanked him. As he looked at her, she blushed, realizing she had fallen for everything about him. From every gesture to every word, she adored everything he did for her. She carefully planned to sneak out just the day before the witch left for the city, and return after some time. This would give her the chance to explore everything. And so, their long journey began. Every step felt like a fairy tale to her. Even though they had been together for some time, she never grew tired of the adventures they shared. In her heart, she always wished this moment would last forever and silently prayed, "Please let me stay with this man for all eternity." With a calm tone, Mikkel led her toward the village, and her eyes sparkled with excitement and wonder. As they approached, all the happiness, joy, and fun that she had crumbled to pieces as she saw something that no human should see for themselves. Her pure, innocent eyes widened in horror, and she was left pleading and trembling at the sight before her. With a calm voice, Mikkel said, "Do you like my village? It's small and peaceful. Nobody here makes a lot of noise." As he spoke and gently pushed her forward, Rapunzel appeared frozen, resisting slightly. Seeing her tremble and sweat, he asked why she was so stiff. Was it her fear of meeting people for the first time? Then someone walked up to them, and Mikkel turned to her saying, "Let me introduce you to my uncle. You'll absolutely love him." As tears formed in her eyes and she was gasping for air, she saw a mutilated person infused with roots so painful that it regrew the head of the person 3 times its size. It had no eyes, just empty sockets filled with absolute hollowness. From the look of it, it was clear that they were dead, and their flesh had become rotten years and years ago. There was no life left in it at all. She stood frozen, silently begging for her life, as everything she had planned and wished for crumbled. The grotesque creature muttered something, and as it stared at her with empty eyes, she realized it was gasping for air so hard it sounded agonizing. Then Mikkel broke the ice and told her, I will need to introduce you to my uncle myself. Rapunzel muttered his name, asking, "What is going on? Why are you doing this?" The monster suddenly woke up and glared at her with its horrifying eyes. With its bruised, foul-smelling arm, it grabbed her shoulder and lunged, ready to bite her immediately. Mikkel quickly hit the creature with a plane stick he had picked up nearby. Standing next to the creature, he said his uncle was just shy, and usually didn't open up to strangers at first. Smiling, he assured her that in time, she'd come to see what a good guy his uncle really was. He tried to give her the stick and told her to whack him if he ever misbehaves. This way, he will behave. Unable to hold back her emotions, she sprinted with all her strength, tears streaming down her face as she let out a loud, anguished scream. Mikkel asked what was wrong, stunned to see her running away so suddenly. What's gotten into her? Wasn't she the one who wanted to see the outside world at least once in her life? As he said this with a dead expression, he glanced back and told the monsters to relax, adding that she was on their side, although she was a bit shy with strangers. From Rapunzel's side view, we saw what shook her to the core. The whole village was filled with grotesque creatures, mutilated villagers and adults, hunched and still, as if waiting for the moment they could feast on flesh. Far from the village, something was burning, and nearby people grumbled about the unbearable stench. A man asked his followers if the corpse burning was the final one. With a confident tone, one of the soldiers reassured him that this was indeed the last one. As they turned to leave, he gave another order. But then the scene pulled back to reveal dozens of severed heads impaled on long spikes. They appeared to be the same monsters seen earlier, and a chilling wind rustled their thorny forms, spreading an evil atmosphere. The thunderous pounding of powerful hooves echoed as the same commander from earlier marched ahead, his face blank and emotionless. It is certain that he slaughtered everything in his sight and crushed anything that dared to trouble him. In total fear for her life and realizing that nothing she once believed in was true, Rapunzel ran with everything she had, never daring to look back. Gasping for breath, she recalled how Mikkel once said normal people needed thick protective shoes just to reach her tower. The thorns below would dig so deep into the skin, it became impossible to move. As she ran, that old conversation echoed in her mind, and for the first time, she truly understood why the witch had kept her locked away. Suddenly, a thorn caught her leg, and she crashed to the ground. While grunting in pain and with tears overflowing, she decided to catch her breath as it became harder to run. Looking forward, she realized this was the same area Mikkel had taken her months ago, the place that had become their special spot full of memories. She broke down in sobs, crying endlessly at her cruel fate, choking out words as she asked why he had lied to her so deeply. From one of the thorns, her knee was cut, and blood spurted out. Instantly, as if sensing the blood, roots slithered out from the side. She recognized them. They were the same ones that had wrapped around the faces of those horrific creatures. From them, a beautiful flower began to bloom. At first, it looked harmless, but slowly it changed into something beyond description. In that moment, she witnessed something so vile and unreal that her spirit disconnected entirely. This place, she was certain, was what hell truly looked like. It looked like the monsters were about to feed on the blood dripping from her leg, so she ran away. She ran, realizing that the only person who had ever truly cared for her was the witch, the one who had shielded her from this living nightmare. As she ran, she pleaded for forgiveness, crying out the witch's name again and again. Meanwhile, Mikkel called for Rapunzel repeatedly, and after countless tries, he realized she had disappeared somewhere difficult to find. Thinking about the thick thorns and rough paths, he feared she might get hurt. As these thoughts ran through his head, he wondered why she had looked so frightened when fleeing the village, and he noted that night was quickly approaching. If she got wounded in the thickets, there would be no way to treat her out there. Genuinely concerned, he made up his mind to find her and return her to the tower as soon as possible. As he pushed through some bushes, Mikkel's eyes widened in shock at what lay before him. Dozens of monsters lay slaughtered, pierced by massive weapons, with a horrible stench filling the air. In total disbelief, he questioned who could have been so merciless to the harmless village. He was caught off guard by one of the creatures moving. It wore a white top. Mikkel gasped, "Auntie!" and rushed toward it. He asked if she was all right and what had happened to the village while he had been away. As he spoke, a sharp, aggressive swing came from behind. The swing sliced the creature's head clean in half with such speed and force that all Mikkel could register was the head flying through the air. As his eyes tried to process what just happened, the head hit the ground, and Mikkel shouted, "Why did you do that?" Someone called out to Mikkel from behind, demanding what he was doing there. As his eyes widened, he glanced back to see the man who had slain his auntie in 2 pieces. Speechless, he noticed the man's outfit and sword. It was the official attire of a supreme knight of the kingdom. With a threatening voice, he asked if they had harmed him, and added that his safety was yet assured, and he must get away from the monster right this instant. Hearing that, Mikkel grew angry and snapped, "What do you mean by monster?" He insisted that she was family, someone he deeply cared for, and didn't deserve to die like that. The knight, wearing a look of disgust and cold indifference, asked Mikkel if he really just called that thing a normal person and family. Drawing his long sword again, the knight repeated the question. Was this really what Mikkel thought of as family? In the next moment, he thrust the sword into the monster's head and held it close to Mikkel's face. That's when Mikkel saw clearly. The auntie he had imagined was nothing more than a horrible illusion. Overcome by the foul stench and terrifying sight, Mikkel vomited. The knight muttered to himself, "You are that type of person." As he tossed the head aside, he said to Mikkel, "You seemed normal, just another civilian, but it turns out you're an even bigger lost cause than the garbage lying around here." The threat in his voice and stance triggered every cell in Mikkel's body to react. Alarmed by those unfinished words, he turned to flee. He ran for his life, leaving everything behind, but the knight's sword tore through his side, slicing into soft organs and nerves. The blade followed through, cutting Mikkel completely in half as blood sprayed from both sides. Mikkel had no chance to react or process the pain. In disbelief, he muttered, "I can't feel my legs." As his body twisted, he caught sight of his own torso, still standing, while the knight turned his back and walked away. As he walked away, the knight gave Mikkel one last look. His followers approached, asking if it was time to regroup with His Highness after the cleanup. The knight told them that there was something he needed to take care of before they did so. He drew a pistol, aimed it at Mikkel's head, and said, "This is just a safety measure," as he could cause a lot of trouble. With that chilling line, he pulled the trigger, blasting Mikkel in the head. There, Mikkel's life was at its end. The knight blew the smoke from his gun, and muttered that it was the crudest, most ruthless weapon of them all. He turned to his followers, alerting them that he had heard a woman scream from afar, likely running deep into the forest. He ordered them to pursue and capture her if necessary. The soldiers nodded in affirmation and began their pursuit. As Mikkel lay twitching from the gunshot wound in his right eye, his final thoughts drifted to Rapunzel's smile. He realized this forsaken place would be where he died. A terrifying thought struck him. What would they do to her? Would they kill her the same way? As that thought consumed him, his eyelids grew heavy. He couldn't keep them open. There, Mikkel drew his last breath. However, his fate yet cruel wasn't finished. Vines and thorns drawn to his blood crept toward him and began to devour him as he feebly resisted with what little strength remained. He then became a sacrifice to the Princess of Flora.